After 9 grueling rounds of Swiss, 5 of which were played out today alone, we finally have our cut to our top 16 best players out of a pool of about 230. So, as we find out who made it into the top 16, I will just say that this is probably the most stacked top 16 bracket that I have ever seen at a DreamHack event, at least that I have attended. Bringing you the action for our only top 16 match that we will be streaming tonight will be Nathan, That's Admirable Zamora, and Dr. Jikaninki, Jace Garthright.
PhD.
Guys, how are you feeling about this top 16?
You know, I'm feeling pretty good overall. You know, like you were saying, I think it is a very stacked top 16 that we have here today. A lot of players that I myself know, and you know, I'm really excited for what's about to happen here.
I think that this top 16 looks fantastic, and that's just been a trend that we've been seeing over and over in Hearthstone is, once again, consistency. Only one of these 16 players is going to win. But guess what? All of them made it to this top 16 point. They beat out the rest of the field. This is better than the top 10% that you can get. And those are the players you look for, the ones who are there time and time again.
Quite a few of these players are making not their first debut in the top 16. We've got players who have been here time and again. Notably, in our first match, we have DreamHack Denver champion Ike. He was undefeated 13-0 at DreamHack Denver. Here he had a 7-2 run. But for Ike to even make this top 16 is an incredible feat. So Ike could potentially take it all the way back to the finals and win this one as well. But let's take a look at the brackets and see who he's going to have to beat out for that second title here at DreamHack Austin. So it is Language Hacker, the only undefeated player, 9-0.
Right.
Versus Cordy, 97. Then we have Amnesiac taking on Guys. Yo, it's Flo versus Conrad. Fluffy taking on Iron Fire. Zalay versus Psycho. Sidonia versus Boar Control. Phenomeno taking on Casual. And our streamed match will be Ike versus Chloe. Ike, like I was saying, reigning DreamHack Denver champion, but Chloe is someone to look out for. Our only female in the top 16. Admirable, you said you actually have played with her a couple of times. You know her reasonably well.
Well, not alongside. I've played against Chloe, I think, 1 or 2 times on ladder, but to me, one of the big standouts was I actually saw the match that took place between her and KitKats at a DreamHack, and it was a grueling game where KitKats needed to land a 1-8 Ragnaros shot to win. And it was a game 5, and that's the end of it. And I watched Chloe play the match, and I was like, she's good. Like, it was a control meta at some point in there, too. So amongst a lot of aggro decks that are trying to prey on those slower decks, she's playing control decks in a meta where it's a little bit off, but they're viable there. And control decks at that time were some of the hardest decks to play because you had to have picture-perfect partitioning of resources in order to really get the job done. And that's a very difficult thing to do, and you compare that to where she was a year prior to that, and it was night and day.
Control decks right now are very powerful, so maybe Chloe coming into her prime, this could be her tournament to take down. But let's take a look at the picks and bans here for Ike versus Chloe. I believe this is the first time we're getting a chance to see Chloe on the stream this weekend, but we've seen Ike a couple of times. We like Ike, of course. He's a great guy, phenomenal player. He has Paladin, Warlock, and Warrior with his Druid banned away. Chloe has Shaman, Paladin, and Druid, and her Priest has been banned away.
Yeah, Mind Blast Priest was the archetype on Chloe's side, and Token Druid the archetype on Ike's side. So Shudderwalk Shaman, Murloc Paladin, and Token Druid for Chloe, and Ike's going to be rocking Recruit Warrior, Odd Paladin, and Cube Warlock, which Cube Warlock, in my talks with Ike so far, has been the deck that he is the most questioning about in his lineup.
Really, Admirable. That's kind of crazy because I've heard a lot of stories about, you know, Q-Block, if they have that Skull of the Minari on turn 5 and they just kind of escalate those board states out of control. I've heard it's actually been performing pretty well, but I guess to each their own, and certain players, you know, they've been struggling with certain decks, and maybe, you know, other decks have been more powerful than, you know, what I entailed and expected.
Well, you mentioned the one card, Skull of Minari.
Yeah.
Without Skull of Minari, I feel like that deck is much harder to pilot because you don't have those crazy Possessed Lackey turns anymore. Now Possessed Lackey is more of like a finality stabilizing tool. It takes you more time to get online. You can't just like be rocking Dark Pacts and like jamming Lackey on coin 4 and be like, I'm totally good. They can't even kill me that fast.
I don't know. Whenever I play against a Q-Block, I see a weapon come down on turn 5 or turn 4, and it's pretty intimidating.
The weapon's the big one.
Yeah, the weapon is the card to look for, but it is only one card in the deck. If you do not have access to that, then, you know, tough luck.
You're done.
Guys, I'm only excited for one weapon here. It's not Skull of the Minari. It's a freaking Woe Cleaver.
You would like Woe Cleaver.
I do like Woe Cleaver.
I hate Woe Cleaver.
I love Woe Cleaver.
It's just cheating. Like,
how is Skull of the Minari not cheating?
It is. And I'm not excited for it.
One cheats on turn 5 and one cheats on turn 8.
Back in my day, we had to pay 8 mana for our big minions, all right? Just saying.
Now I pay 5.
Yeah.
And it summons a big minion and summons other smaller minions.
Yeah, and sometimes you play free. Like the second turn after Woe Cleaver. It's just free. You get it. They're just giving it to you.
It's a really cool deck,
It
and
is.
we get to see Ike actually pilot it. So, Ike versus Chloe, I have to ask, is it going to be the DreamHack Denver champion? Is he going to claim his second North American DreamHack title? Or will it be Chloe this time around, proving herself in her first DreamHack Top 16? Nathan?
If you're going to ask me, I'm going Ike. Ike's taught me a lot about the game, and he builds great decks, and he plays insane. So, Ike has got an incredible record. I can't bet against him.
Yeah, you know, I'm excited for this game either way, but just by the rules of losing to Ike in the finals, I have to give my guess to Ike. I mean, that is just literally the laws of the land. If you lose to someone, you have to make sure you're rooting for them in future tournaments.
I really hate to bet against Ike. You said this is Chloe's comfort zone, so I think anything really can happen. Excited to see our first and only top 16 match of the night. It's going to be Ike versus Chloe.
Both on Ike, but the big one is that he lost to Ike. I just want to point out I've never lost to Ike, but that's because I've never played him.
Why does everybody keep bringing that up? You know, that was a traumatic experience for me. I was 1 win away from having 2 titles and stopping that 13-0.
Do you see why I like it so much?
We do like Ike. I do have to admit that.
I just dislike you, is really what it is.
Is that what it is? The chant is, we like Ike, we dislike Dr. J.
Yeah, that was really hard to say. We dislike Dr. Jikaninki, so I took it to 3 syllables instead.
I'm glad you did, because we like Ike sounds much better than we like Dr. Jikaninki.
Yeah, it certainly is. But Chloe, like I said, I've seen her play. She's a formidable opponent. Game 1's getting underway. I think Ike's got his work cut out for him, and it has been a grueling weekend for these players. 9 rounds of Swiss is a lot of Hearthstone to be played. I mean, just an idea is that the rounds are averaging about 2 hours.
Yeah, this has been a long weekend so far.
Hearthstone hours. I'm tired after like 4 games.
I'm tired of 2 games on ladder, especially when I lose them.
I'm not even playing them, and I get a little bit tired sometimes.
But, you know,
they're intense.
They are very intense games. I will say, though, the queue order right now is not going in the benefit of Chloe. This is typically a very bad matchup for that token druid. I mean, just the Defile card. We're talking about how good Warpath is in this matchup. Defile as well just kind of shuts this deck down.
Yeah, one of the big things to look out for, too, is that Chloe just does not have strong answers to Mountain Giant. Druid has historically struggled against this card unless you can get out to some pretty enormous starts. And she's got a good one. You know, the Nourish into Arcane Tyrant is definitely the kinds of starts that offset Mountain Giant, but, you know, we're looking at battling 2 Mountain Giants here. And like you mentioned, getting token presence and then delivering damage, pretty much the #1 thing. And so when I look at this turn, I mean, it's Nourish, Arcane Tyrant all the way, but I'm thinking about draw right here.
Yeah, draw has to be weighing on the back of the mind, especially picking up that Whispering Woods. Now that she has that in her hand, she wants more cards in order to enable how many 1/1s she wants to get onto the board. Malfurion picked up.
These are some good cards. I mean, these are the key cards really in the matchup. Like, if you're going to get underway and really fight against the early pressure, you need defensive tools that also make progress. And so, in this case, Arcane Tyrant and Arcane Golem are not defensive tools. They're offensive tools that help you play defense via just the pressure that gets applied on Ike here. Whoa, that's another
Picking
big
that up means Defile isn't exactly the best answer. Can go ahead and play this out, hoping that, you know, there's no Hellfire in the midst. We see that Ike does have access to that Hellfire, but do you just take the chance here, Admirable?
Well,
you just kind of say, you know what, you've got it, you got it, you don't, or do you think this game can go on a little bit longer?
I think this game can go on a little bit longer. Something that you typically don't do is think about, well, what if they have Mountain Giant #2? That's a fairly rare circumstance, and that's probably something that you're going to struggle to anyway. And so when I look at a situation like this, what it boils down to is what's going to yield the best progress. If Ike has to Hellfire in this spot, you're pretty darn happy with it. If Ike has to Defile in this spot, you're not exactly happy with that, and you're leading into Malfurion afterwards. So you probably go for it here just because of the way that your hand lines up and how Ike is going to, you know, attempt to recover that game state. But I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's ever a line of play where you commit the Soul of the Forest this turn with the intent of trying to get there with the Savage Roar in the long run, because you know there isn't that many of the taunt minions, especially for this mana card, the mana that Ike is going to now. She's just going to go ahead and push that damage. This Savage Roar, if she can connect a little bit more damage, this game's over pretty quickly.
That's really, the Soul of the Forest is quite an interesting play to me, because it does secure you sometimes a pretty decent amount of board presence. And, you know, Savage Roar starts getting scary when you have like the 4 minion mark. At 3 minions, it's still pretty decent, but it's not like the end all be all. And so in Chloe's spot here, really, it's just the way this lines up against Malfurion that you're so happy about. You still have the Arcane Tyrant trucking away. The taunts get in the way of this very injured Mountain Giant at this point, and now she's drawn Ultimate Infestation. So this is the makings of a favorable situation.
It really is. Typically, this is not a favorable matchup, but she has gotten to a point where she's pushed enough damage in the early game that just through the Savage Roar and this Malfurion hero power that she's now got online can end this game pretty quickly. Ike's at 8 health already.
Yeah, and again, there's not really anything for him to do to play defense in this spot. He looks to me like he's just kind of donezo. Like, where does he grab a hold of this?
Trying to think of the best
Spellstone?
way.
Like, but this pressure is not going to really slow down that much. The next turn for Chloe is a little bit weak, but that's why the Malfurion's so important. It keeps that damage clocking.
And it looks like Ike is just going to go ahead and play that Spellstone, gain a little bit of life back, trade off the Giant. You know, it's the saddest thing in the world to see an 8-1 Mountain Giant just go into a Scarab. But he's
Depends on who you are.
I think Chloe's perfectly fine with that.
I'd be perfectly fine with that if I'm Chloe. And here, the Violet Teacher is also a very welcome pickup. This fills out the Wild Growth into the Ultimate Infestation and still gets the hero power in. That Violet Teacher rounded up this hand perfectly.
A tangled web.
I wonder if there's ever a line of play where Chloe decides to go for the Savage Roar now, commit the Wild Growth with the intent that Ultimate Infestation would end the game on the following turn, trying to get this done as quickly as possible.
That's really interesting.
She may just be looking into doing that. I definitely think she wants to commit the Wild Growth this turn. The question is, does she also commit that Savage Roar?
She's
going for it.
That's the Savage Roar, and that's exactly what's on her mind. Ultimate Infestation brings some beats.
And Ike has to kill off his own Beetle just to survive this. And as I can see right now, there's no way to do that. Well, there is the cube. Picks up the Dark Pact.
Wow. Dark Pact's not the same card it used to be, though.
Yeah.
4 healing instead of a bunch, but the big one is Possessed Lackey still in hand. So now, if this is Doomguard, it's not. And that is a really big moment. This is really why Token Druid struggles in the matchup. If you fail to kill on a critical turn like this, things are suddenly looking tough. But Ike now, once again, is going to be under that pressure, though. Second Ultimate Infestation gets picked up.
She was really on that game plan of trying to end this game as quickly as possible, because if this game does go to the long run, Void Lords become too much for her to deal with, and she can never really get through. There's no silence in the deck. The only thing she can really do is try and Savage Roar through the Void Lords and Void Walkers, which that never ends up working out.
It never is the correct word. I don't know if you've played against this card, but it's about 65 attacks it takes to take it down.
65. You've crunched the numbers?
Look, Righteous Protector is pretty tough to attack through.
That takes at least 37.
Void Lord is like 18 Righteous Protectors. Ike's he's grasping for everything he can to just gain that little bit more life and hope he can live. And so now, this is where Ike's finally going to have time to start pressing the issue back on his terms, but that is a long clock still.
And Chloe can go ahead and clear off the Void Lord here and then commit the Spreading Plague if she chooses to do so. You know, Void Walkers have nothing on 1/5 Scarabs.
That's very true. I mean, this is really the way that you can be successful against Void Lord. You have some mana ramp, you had a big turn, you're able to knock out the Void Lord, and then Spreading Plague afterwards.
Can even clear up one of the Void Walkers with the Wrath there. And if Ike doesn't have a great way to defile off this board state, he's probably going to be crunching the numbers. He most likely has a defile math here. Can go ahead and put that cube in. There's definitely a way to clear the board.
I mean, it's just a very clear, like, poke with the 4, poke the...
math is hard sometimes.
Well, you know, basically the way it works is there's always a defile. I don't know how, it's always there.
I've actually never seen a board that Godfrey could not clear.
Doesn't exist. I guess the real question is here, should he defile? You know, like, Void Lord looks pretty darn good to me. Swipe gets picked up. That Beetle, though, they take like to 10, and ultimate plus swipe is that's 9 over 2 turns. 1 single damage.
I'm trying to think if there's any math here where Chloe can commit the Savage Roar and actually clean up through and finally get to, you know, a point where she can swipe one of the minions or face and actually push this lethal damage in even through the Void Lord. I'm not sure if there's enough damage on board currently.
Right now there's not. It's a lot of attacks to get that done, but when you have Soul of the Forest, that changes some things. You know, you're gonna guarantee minion presence a little bit more. But again, Defile is really that chain that offsets the Soul of the Forest at times. That's a little bit more tricky, but it's doable.
I definitely like Ike playing down the Void Lord there.
I like this.
I like this a lot. Just setting up saying, you know what, you need healing on this upcoming turn, and if you don't have it,
You're in trub.
you're in trub.
That's the technical term.
Technical term is trub.
She. Okay. Taking time for the poke. That's largely, I think, an irrelevant mechanic to this. It really boils down to like where the push sits and if Ike, you know, A, gets himself out of range with Godfrey drawn. Wait, does that clear off the excess beetles as well? No, there's not enough stuff on board for that.
Like I said, I've never seen a board that Godfrey could not clear. Can even go ahead and play the Stonehill Defile.
Wait. That's a 1/4 Scarab on the right? Or 1/3? What's the health on that?
The one on the far left is 1/2. The other 2 in the middle are 1/4s.
That would be a Godfrey clearing the extra beetles then to the cube. Godfrey would kill off the 1/4s. They would spawn 2/2s. And at the same time, the 2/3s would spawn from the cube. So it would damage the beetles to kill off the trees and then kill off the beetles.
That was impressive, Admiral. Looks like, you know, I need to take a little bit slower. He thinks that he can survive just by playing taunts in the way.
Pretty sure he does.
Even gonna faceless the cube.
Whoa.
And I like facelessing the cube there, because one of the ways that Ike loses his matchup is by just getting burned out of the game. But wait, can Chloe just get through with the Savage Roar now?
Well, there's 5 taunts in play, and she's got 5 attacks, so no.
She does have an opportunity to try and go for a Spreading Plague, though.
My thoughts are plagued.
That's kind of where my head was at, but 2 cubes, it starts making quick work of Spreading Plagues. I mean, I think. Look, I know if I'm in this spot, I really feel like I want to try to get through this board, but I really want to try to draw the other burn spells too. So it looks to me like she's going to try to just burn through this board and make her hand size get lower so that Ultimate Infestation number 2 becomes unlocked. In the meantime, Ike is occupied with what's left on the board, and that gives you time to use Ultimate Infestation plus follow-up. So Ike's still got to find some defensive measure in this spot. Like, this is still a really tense situation where I think he gets out of this turn pretty cleanly, but as soon as he sees that second ultimate, you know, starts to worry again.
He did pick up some extra healing with that Spellstone.
This board's got to be taken care of this turn.
So many possibilities.
Question is, what is the best way to clear up this board? I mean,
Chloe's looking pretty upset by this play. Was it a miscalculation, perhaps?
no, I think committing it there was a strong play, because, you know, you really need to fit those in when you can, especially because you never know when you're going to have a board state again.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. Did she feel like she miscalculated this at some point, or didn't pan this out properly or something? Like, this is a really big health swing that took place, and Ike, recognizing that, playing the Mountain Giant, rather than, you know, just using the spells trying to heal up as much as possible, he went, wow, that was a pretty weak turn. This is my opportunity to strike back. You know, if I'm in Chloe's spot now, this looks appealing. The Whispering Woods looks appealing. But that clock for 3 is so important.
Yeah.
Not always going to have access to that damage.
Don't know if I want to see the trade there. I want to see that definitely go face.
It's a visualization thing. You just look at it and you go, nope, nope, nope. Okay, face.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of times, some of the best things to do in Hearthstone is push that damage, but another Carnivorous Cube in order to eat these beetles up. But that means if he commits to the cube here, he's not really answering all the beetles.
It's a true story.
So many.
This is the other thing too, is you know, from Ike's perspective, he's like right on the verge of dying. But now he's seen a branching pass and he's seen a Savage Roar, and with how aggressively Chloe's been using her resources, I imagine that Ultimate Infestation number 2 is somewhere in Ike's mind. So if that's the case, how does he get through this as best as possible?
Even just going to cube the Giant. Wants to
Yeah,
have that pressure on the follow-up. I like this.
He's got to get the game done too. You know, his hand is, it's not very good. It's not bad, but it's not good.
If Chloe can finally just stick one board state, that's all she needs, especially with the branching paths picked up off the top to end this game. She's even going to have Ultimate Infestation for the refill, and Ike's not really working with much here. It's a little late for that card.
Yeah, that card, I mean, he wants to get these Mountain Giants online as soon as possible.
I'm just trying to think what is the best course of action. Godfrey doesn't really even clear it up well enough. Just going to go ahead and tap, look for some more answers. Whoa. The other Doomguard, though. He can't kill off this teacher.
Godfrey kills his
Oh, God, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But committing Godfrey now.
The problem is it hurts your Giants a lot. That's the issue with it.
I think a bigger issue is just the fact that he no longer has a clear to any wide board state, which is, I think, more devastating than putting damage on the Giant. But, you know, weakening Giants is also just a negative thing.
It's the weakening of it that disables the counterattack. So now Chloe, she's seen a lot of AoE. Ultimate Infestation and making stuff both look like good plays. And with the fact that she has the Jasper Spellstone that she just drew, what that means is, you know, can you ever make some stuff and kill off a Mountain Giant here? I don't know, but, you know, now feels like a good time to risk it. Life tapped. He's clearly in search of something.
Clearly showing Chloe that he doesn't really have much in his hand right now that he wants to commit to the board. They're very hesitant with the Godfrey, but it seemed like it was his only play, and it was. I like this, just going wide on the board, saying, you know what, this might be one of the last final pushes, but we might just see these Mountain Giants trade into 1/1s.
Yeah, even if he landed both Doomguards, like if he got lucky and held on to the second Doomguard after the discard effect, still not enough damage to close. And so in this spot, if he doesn't... Oh my gosh, huge draw for Ike.
He picks up the Defile.
That is a devastating draw. I mean, he gets now push some damage, set up the Skull.
I will say, however, though,
Doomguard?
he might as well.
Ike's just going in.
He has to at this point. But Chloe can fit a Hero Power in on the face and set up the Ultimate Infestation for the following turn.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And then also armor up.
That's a lot of damage on board.
But she can heal for 12 and then kill off one of the Giants with the Spellstone, push that Hero Power face, and then win on the following turn. If
she did see the Doomguard discarded, so
yeah.
It's 21 damage on board. And that, I think you're right, actually. The Branching Pass...
Just commit it for armor. End this game on the follow-up.
Like, where does Ike get 4 damage? Yeah. Where would he get 4 damage from? There's not a card in the deck that deals 4 damage. Except for Doomguard.
Well, if she Spellstones one of these Giants, he's going to need a lot more than 4 damage.
Oh, yeah. For whatever reason in my head, I was like, Branching Pass, Hero Power. That's the whole turn.
No.
Yeah.
One of these Giants is dead. just gain 12, Spellstone one of the Giants, push the hero power face, and it could be game over for Ike.
I guess that's one of the reasons why I feel a little bit confused by the Doom Guard over the Skull. Is you can play the Doom Guard in the next turn. You get 10 damage that way. And sometimes you hide this aspect. You know, would Chloe maybe just ripped an Ultimate Infestation instead this turn? I mean, Ike, if he doesn't draw healing, that's it.
What's the draw, Admirable?
It's good to see you again. Pull up a chair by the hearth.
Faceless. I mean, that pushes a little bit of damage.
It's 18. That's not 25.
But if Ike taps and he doesn't pick up, you know, just a Stonehill Defender or something, he's just dead to the hero power. But if he doesn't tap and looks for healing, he's dead to the second Ultimate Infestation.
Ike is watching this happen, and he knows what he's dead to. He's going to look for healing.
Shroom Brewer!
Are you kidding?
Another Spellstone.
It's only 2, though.
This is insane. So what
Wait,
if...
Is that what's the health of that giant?
2 health.
My eyes are... Okay, well, that's...
It's okay, you're getting old.
Yeah, I am. But this play... It's trapped now. Ike has the faceless.
I wonder if it was ever correct to, you know, Ultimate Infestation that giant in order to gain that armor, try and outlive the faceless, and then hope to draw swipe on the follow-up to push that hero power face.
This is insane. This is like as close as it can possibly have gotten. And Ike discards a Doom Guard, discards Skull to Minari, hangs on for dear life to take a 1-0 lead in a matchup where he's supposed to be massively favored, and instead it's about as close as can be.
That was so close. Ike even recognizing what Chloe's game plan was to try and get that Ultimate Infestation down as quickly as possible, even tapping when he knew he was dead to the hero power to get that Shroom Brewer in order to secure him that game.
He knew he had to get lucky. Took that risk and it paid off.
Now, what does Chloe have to counter Q onto this Warlock? We say Q block has, although Ike may not be performing with it as well, it does have very potential sweep potential.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like the whole lineup is fairly weak to what Cube Warlock brings. Deck's still got a draw roll though. It does not have the same explosive potential that it once had. It can still produce that effect. It takes a lot longer.
I will say, though, one of the best cards, Skull to Minari, but it's going to be combated straight away by the Gluttonous Ooze.
That choice is pretty vital in the matchup. I've heard players say that when they ooze the Skull of Minari in the Shudderwalk Shaman versus Cube Warlock matchup, that it ends. Well, that is it's an interesting choice. I don't know about that. I mean, that's why the card's in the deck, right?
Exactly. It's just for the Skull of the Minari.
So this is a spot where, you know, she's looking at that and going, I'm going to hold on this card for just turn after turn after turn after turn. You know, there is a chance when you have Prince Kaliseth in your deck that just getting him on 2 and trying to pressure your opponent is a better plan.
It's
in
also
this
maybe
spot, it looks a lot worse than it
does.
actually is because Ike's just holding on to Skull of Minari. You put yourself in a position of averages. Ike's going to draw Skull of Minari about as often as you draw Prince Kaliseth. If he doesn't draw that Skull of Minari, that ooze is going to do nothing.
You know, it's a lot more proactive to kind of just take into consideration saying, you know, if I just keep this card and it does nothing the entire game, it may be worth the risk to mulligan it away.
I don't think it is.
That's a hard question to answer.
I don't think it is. If I'm putting an ooze in my deck for Skull of Minari, I'm keeping that ooze when I draw it. And I'm going to suffer the consequences when I don't ooze a Skull of Minari. But I see the reasoning.
There's also some kind of mind games that go into it. You would think maybe they don't necessarily keep the Skull since they know you play the ooze and they try and look for some better cards. That's also potential that could have happened. But Chloe was thinking, Chloe would think, you know what, I may not keep this Skull, so why would I keep the ooze?
It's a good point. I mean, it's an open deckless format. You know exactly what your opponents are bringing to the table. You know, is he willing to take that risk? Well, if you know Ike, the answer is yes. He plays it so it's in play. And that's exactly what just happened. And now suddenly This is a point where you got to forget about that. You don't go, I should have kept that ooze. You just focus on the task at hand. Got to kill him.
I will say, though, Ike, not only with the skull, has access to all 4 demons in his hand.
This is a lot of damage that's coming in, though. Keliseth is no joke still. Chloe's drawn 2 cards a turn. Bashing Ike for a lot. If that is not a Void Lord that gets peeled off of this, and even if there is now, even if there is.
I mean, unless Ike picks up a Faceless here, I mean, you're right. This is so much damage coming in.
This is a lot, and so Hellfire is going to clear out some of it.
But not all of it.
The real problem with the Hex is the backup to it. It's a Glacial Shard. This is 1 turn later. It looks a lot different.
You know, there is some consideration for holding on to the Glacial Shard to try and play it on the turn before the Calamos to push that 6 damage Fireball
Ooze
face.
gets drawn now.
That's a great pickup.
I don't know which one to pick.
It's so hard to say. You wouldn't expect all the demons to be in the hand.
I want to ooze because I want to play another card.
I agree.
Like a good card.
Can even trade off and then mind control tech if she chooses to do so. But
I mean, the totem is a relatively fine card here. If this is like a healing totem or a taunt totem, you're looking at still a pretty decent result. The big one is now ooze shuts off, but you know this opens up an opportunity for Ike now.
does pick up Defile. It's not quite a full clear. The ooze will stick around. But you're right. Ike is running so low on health and with such a awkward and clunky hand unless he had that Skull online.
Skull is vital.
Skull is very vital to this deck.
Like, the clock is really more on Ike than it is on Chloe.
Yeah.
Eventually, Shutterwalk's going to show up and start doing Shutterwalk things.
There's nothing better than a Shutterwalk doing Shutterwalk things.
Not if you're Dr. Jikaningi.
She's still got the other life drinker. You know, sometimes there may come a point where she just draws that Shutterwalk early enough and she's pushed enough damage, she could just get him with 2 life drinkers off the Shutterwalk effect.
And you get an extra 6/6 as well. I mean, that's the reason that I feel like Keliseth was even included in this deck under its first iteration, which I saw from Meaty, was that sometimes you just get them.
Yeah, Ike's going to be forced to play the Defile here. Another Glacial Shard, that's gonna pair perfectly with the Calamus for next turn. That could deal 6 damage if Ike doesn't draw healing for turn.
Yeah,
this could be game over.
That is problem if you're Ike. He's just getting beat up.
You know, I think I would have rather seen a Life Drinker Glacial Shard come down this turn.
I'm totally fine with this.
Think so?
Yeah. Ike's got to have another AoE. And it's Godfrey in 1 Defile. He drips the Godfrey. Wow.
Oh, Calamos time.
That is an insane draw.
That was a really good one, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's still not enough yet. Like, Ike still has to get out of this situation. And that means more healing.
Oh, Beetle Q, but then he can't
There's
answer
a
the Calamos.
7/7.
Is this just game over right here?
It's not just a Fireball, it's also a War Golem. 2 War Golem references. Like, yes.
Solid, Admiral. Tap to try and look, but
Ike's
this tap
dead.
is not going to save him this time.
Prince Keliseth getting it done. That extra +1/+1 on the Sarnak Chain Gang, on the Ooze, on the 3/2, it forced so much the whole way through.
It went perfect with her game plan. She recognized that maybe she needed to find another source of, you know, just damage to put out, because if she just, you know, Gluttonous Oozes it and doesn't have the damage to back it up, they still have Doom Guards. They still have Void Lords. They still have a lot of scary minions that you have to answer. And that Prince Keliseth put in work.
Game 3, it's a tie score. And it's last hero standing. Cube Warlock's finally been taken down for Chloe. Murloc Paladin is her 3rd deck in line. It has to get to that point first. Ike's going to be rocking either Odd Paladin or his Recruit Warrior after this.
Oh, but Recruit Warrior for Shutterwalk Shaman, that's an abysmal matchup. They just have Hexes, they have Volcanoes. I mean, of course, they don't want a Volcano Rot Face, but Volcano at most any other minion, It's pretty solid, and there's only so many minions that I can pressure Chloe with.
The big one in that matchup, in that case, would be like a giant Dead Man's Hand style turn. But you don't necessarily have that much time. Like, eventually, Shutterwalk things happen. It's the nature of it. So he's going to go with Odd Paladin and say, there's plenty of AoE on the other side, but I just got to get it done.
Yeah, Chloe just going to go ahead and keep that Lightning Storm, probably one of the more important cards. Even running Firefly in this list, that's going to make it so much better for her when trying to combat these early board states that Odd Paladin can create.
That's why you run the Fireflies. Firefly tends to do a lot of work when fighting against any of the Odd Paladin decks. Just does a lot to help chop away at the board. Now, the problem with that is that Ike's let off with one of the sticky one-drops. You know, the sticky one-drops make it a little bit more difficult. You typically have to commit coin and do something like this to not get run over and have to storm on like turn 3 or 4 or whatever.
I love this coming out from Chloe. She understands this matchup perfectly. Going to go ahead and go Firefly, coin Firefly into Firefly Flame Elemental and just keep trading away.
Just buy time.
Just buy time. Not only that, but she has the board state over Ike. And that's just so important.
That's where the Stonehill Defender comes in.
Yeah, Stonehill Defender's a little pesky.
Starts fighting back.
But if Chloe rolls a Healing Totem next turn, can just go ahead and take 2 bumps and heal all of these back up.
But that's one of the interesting things about Odd Paladin to me is like it's clearly an aggressive deck, but it's got a lot of staying power. Like 2 Silverhand Recruits a turn is not a joke. It's a lot of just stuff, and really the big inflection points are things like Fungal Mancer, having to level up. Fighting the early board it feels like a necessity, but it's not the only way that this deck dies. You still have to be able to fend off the big turns, the big buffs.
Yeah, the level ups, the Fungal Mancers like you were mentioning.
Not only that, but once they play the Stonehill, that's when you're just like, oh, please don't have Tarim. And every time I play against Odd Paladin, I just forget that they can even have Tarim even after the Stonehill.
You feel like it's cheating, right? That they should not have access to
Well, in my head,
Tarim.
I'm just like, Tarim, that's a 6-cost card. That's even.
You say it just like that.
Just like that.
I also say it just like that.
Yeah. You're where I got it from. It's technique.
Really?
Well, yeah, I got to respect people who get second to Ike.
You can't keep bringing that up, Admirable.
I'm done. I promise. Unless you bring it up. That's the last
I did
one.
get second die.
That's the last. Starting now.
Starting now. But this Lightning Storm.
I don't know. Sorry, Chain Gang's still looking totally fine here. You're giving up a lot on board, but this is the inflection point. This is where the 5s can punish. And so that's my question. If it's Fungal Mancer or if it's level up, it's only 2 buffs right now. If you weaken those buffs with Sarnet Chain Gang, you get a little bit more out of the Lightning Storm.
It also fits the curve much better. And, you've sold.
Lightning Storm preserves a lot of stuff, though.
It does preserve these measly Firefly and Flame Elementals.
Because look, you want to use Healing Rain to heal yourself way back up. But, Chloe's looking at Primordial Drake into Shutterwalk and just playing a more fair-oriented game where you just get a lot of value. And so the Healing Rain, I think at times it can come out and just keep fighting the board.
I mean, right here, it's just a perfect scenario of just she can Healing Rain, get these minions back up, and just trade into the 1/1s over and over. And if I can't do anything but make these board saves and she eventually gets to the point where she gets the Primordial Drake into the Shutterwalk pool, she can just play a Shutterwalk for tempo and try and push that 6 damage over and over to end the game.
That's more likely the goal in this matchup. And now the Healing Rain is, obviously that's been doused by the Stonehill. Like now it's just that's like a miserable play. And so this is the situation where Chloe gets punished for this style of play is second Stonehill Defender. It's not a huge punish, but her next turn is basically nothing. Her next turn is basically Prince Keleseth.
That's a great draw. We've seen Prince, I believe, in every single Shutterwalk Shaman game that's been casted so far, at least on my behalf.
Yeah,
and Prince Keleseth is a really good card.
I was going to mention Kill Him all day, but
okay, you're right.
He got beat really bad in that one.
It's still his year.
I mean, what could he do about that? That was a bad matchup. Just a bad matchup. Fungal Mancer And again, the key to a lot of the AoE isn't to prevent buffs, it's to be able to fend them off and then take advantage of them. When you have to use them in fear of the board-wide buffs, a lot of times what happens is they still hit, and they still hit very hard. And so Ike having availability to punish here, now he just finds the time to fit that in and keep that pressure high. If he waits till too late, that's a Primordial Drake, Hagatha, etc. are too impactful to recover from. If he does it too early, is he getting enough stuff?
Yeah, Ike's just trying to figure out the way to ration out the resources here. Because you're exactly right. If he, commits all of these, too late, these AoEs are going to get to him.
It's basically now.
He has to go in now.
Yeah.
Especially with the open deck list format. He knows that Chloe's playing Primordial Drake. And if Primordial Drake hits the board early on, it's spell a lot of trouble.
Well,
a Manatide.
The thing about it is that Chloe's just been fighting pretty darn well the whole time. Sarnet Chain Gang, the moment that comes down is really such a key moment too. It's not a card you just, I have Sarnet Chain Gang, I play Sarnet Chain Gang. It's about timing it to offset Ike's pressure. Sometimes you don't have that liberty, but when you do, that's when you start unlocking Primordial Drake. You start unlocking the Shutterwalk for value. And those are the turns that are the most impactful, if you can get to them. Ike so far has not had the pressure to keep Chloe on the back foot enough. She had the Lightning Storm, she had all the Fireflies early.
She's had a pretty great hand so far to deal with Odd Paladin. In the past, I've seen this matchup, the Prince version I think struggles a little bit more than the Wild Pyro version because the Wild Pyro version just has more access to those AoE that you would really need.
But with that could beat the Cube Warlock.
Exactly. The Prince version does so much better against the Cube block, and that's what put her in this situation now, is just being able to defeat that Cube block. Firefly is still pretty strong against it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like one of the better one-drops or something like that.
Maybe Dire Maul.
I'm no expert, but
I like Fireflies.
Vine Cleaver's a pretty big one too. I mean, this really starts to mitigate the impact of Chloe being able to fight so aggressively on board so far. Gives him a nice damage push. This is before Primordial Drake, but again, it's about having the right tools for the right time, and that's a healing rate.
Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a Hex come out of here, clear up some of the minions. Don't want to lose this early on to level up, especially if she can just last one more turn. May just go for the Life Drinker, get it in the pool for the Shutterwalk later on.
Well, I don't know about this. I mean,
Yeah.
that 3/6 is awfully large.
I think I would have much rather seen the Hex come out.
Well, she's looking
with the
at
healing rain.
She's looking at specifically having the Primordial Drake sweep this up next turn. So trading off the 1/1s weakens the Stonehill. It gives you more healing on yourself. That puts you out of range of most of any, if any, reach that Ike would have. I mean, dealing 30 from this board state would be astonishing. I don't even know if it's possible. And then the Primordial Drake is going to sweep up this board position unless there's level up. Now, level up isn't something that really Chloe can play around at all in this spot, I don't think. Like, Hex helps cut into it, but that presence is going to be looming throughout.
Just against Odd Paladin, it's one of the matchups that you can afford to Hex. A typically weaker minion. They don't really play too many large minions. I think the largest that it gets to is the Stormwind Champion. Not sure if Ike is actually running that in his list.
Why don't you take a look?
Yeah, I'm going to take a look right now.
It's on the table.
He's not. He actually maxes out a Corridor Creeper and Baku.
And the Vine Cleaver.
Yeah, Vine Cleaver, Corridor Creeper, and Baku just maxing out there.
Yeah, the combat's just weird. He doesn't really have a way to push and survive Primordial Drake, and Chloe's very much signaled that card.
I mean, Ike has played this in a way that he can ration out his resources, so that even Primordial Drake comes down. Oh,
that's
a buff chain game.
Yeah. He's flexing.
He's flexing on those Odd Paladins.
And this is exactly what dragons should do. They should eat things and breathe fire.
Ike was a turn late for the level up. But I mean, He's still got plenty of silver hand recruits to make. He's got all the cards that actually make them.
I was just about to say, I was like, is this a turn late? This feels like a
Yeah,
pretty
it feels
good
like
turn.
a pretty good turn to draw it, actually.
Reporting for duty.
Looks like he's just going to commit it here. I mean, why not?
Reporting for duty.
If he's worried about Shutterwalk coming up with the battle cry from Primordial Drake, you might as well, you know, commit to this board now.
Look, he's not going to beat Hagatha. Like, that card's going to chew him apart
It's a good
at every
card.
stage of the game. Now's his turn. Volcano is just... When you have your own big minion out, is like the time you don't want a Volcano, but is it still just good enough here?
Clears the full board. She can trade off her Primordial Drake, clear the full board, and get a Serenite Chain Gang down.
Oh, it's 9 mana. Oh, I'm crazy. Yeah, Primordial just got played. Yeah, you see, I am tired. Yeah, never mind. Volcano was great. I'm stupid. Yeah,
Especially when you back it up with a 3/4 Serenite Chain Gang.
But what about when you back that up with a Fen Creeper and a Booty Bay Bodyguard?
Ooh. We're getting feisty now.
Sick arena deck.
Bro.
Gotta keep hero powered.
The Booty Bay Bodyguard and the Creeper will have to wait one more turn.
Well, one of those two is gonna wait. One of those two.
Which one is it going to be, though? The
Bay
Booty Bay
looks
Bodyguard
a lot
does
better to
contest
me.
much better. Even going to swing in.
I sent a 15, by the way.
But Chloe's down to 11.
Wait, how? When did
Where
that
did all this
happen?
damage come from? I can understand where Chloe's at 11, but Ike being at 15? Where did he take this much damage in the course of the game? I just look up and you said it. I don't know where that damage came from.
I kind of want to just attack face with that Saronite.
I'm kind of looking at that too. I mean, how many life drinkers in the pool? Just one right now?
I mean, if he's just going to keep hitting with weapons, like, I'm going to start hitting him back.
Oh, and Ike just has such an awkward hand, but wait a minute.
What do you mean an awkward hand?
Is this just lethal?
What do you mean an awkward hand? That was
That's
the perfect
lethal.
draw.
That was a good draw. I was sitting there thinking it was awkward. With the Leroy Jenkins, that's just going to be lethal for Ike.
That is an insane draw. That's like the one source of big damage for little mana that he has left.
I was not doing the math, Admirable.
I haven't done the math a lot either. But goodness gracious. 1 mana, 3 damage is just... I don't know how they're always so good. It just doesn't matter like how bad they are. They're always good somehow.
Just anything that deals damage is good.
Yeah.
I like dealing
Even
damage.
Arcane Shot's like a reasonable card.
I know, right?
Stupid.
You think it's stupid that Arcane Shot's a reasonable card?
Yeah.
Why do you think that's stupid? You like dealing damage, Admirable.
2.
Oh, you want it to deal 3. If it doesn't deal 3, it's not good enough for you.
Yeah. That's why I like Crackle so much. It just always deals 3. Ike, 2-1 lead, and Chloe, she's got Murloc Paladin to get this done with. And I know you and I were actually debating this a little bit before, where you're like, Odd Paladin's great against Murloc Paladin. I'm like,
That is literally exactly what Admirable said. He said,
a little off, but yeah, close.
Close enough.
Close. It sounds.
Cool.
To me, the big impact is that Murlocs have, I feel like, a much better capacity to actually deal damage. However, it's a matchup where it can look very lopsided. In any sort of aggressive-oriented mirror match, it's the first few turns that really dictate the pace. So being able to snag the board position and then somehow snowball it in your favor, I think it is a little bit harder for Chloe, but her payoffs are just that much bigger, is really where I feel the matchup is. So I could be wrong. I could be biased just because I have tended to, at times stomp people with Murloc Paladin. But I've totally felt that struggle of they have a 1-drop and then they have 2 1-drops, and then you're going, well, I don't have really enough to get back.
Yeah, Chloe picked up a very important card there, getting access to that Murloc Tidecaller, giving her a 1-drop. If not, she would have been to an awkward start. I mean, that Knife Juggler is a very important card. I didn't really take that into consideration when I was thinking about the matchup. Knife Juggler sometimes can just,
Ike's got the good one with Firefly, and then he's got another good one with Lost Jungle and another good one with the second Firefly thing. So this is one of the more troublesome openings for Chloe, for sure. And I wanted to make the point that one of the things with the matchup is that it looks really silly the way that it goes. One player will appear to have dominated the other, but it really is important on the early game combat. And Blessing of Might is, wow, that is an insanely good draw here.
Yeah, it allows Ike to clean up the minion. But, you know, he's not even worried about it. He's just going to go ahead and push this damage phase.
That's the thing, is with Righteous Protector, you have the liberty of using the Blessing of Might on your terms. Sure, you can use it now and wipe that up, or you can just say, oh, take your Divine Shield, I guess.
I mean, to be honest, in Murloc Paladin, there's not that many strong turn 3 plays. I think the most strong play is either, if there's Murlocs on the board, obviously the Cold Light Seer, I believe it is, and then the Nightmare Amalgam. And I think that's the strongest play. And she just had to commit that weapon just to clear up one of the minions.
This is starting to snowball.
This is that snowball effect that you were talking about.
Fen Creeper got, I'm sorry, Fungal Mancer got picked up. Fen Creeper. Just think about last game.
Do you just take the cheapest minion here just so you can play it in future turns with, you know, or do you take that Lich King?
Well, that's the, I'm looking at the Divine Favor in hand, and my, you know, my heart wants to say Lich King, but my head wants to say take something good. And so in this position, the something good is, you know, being able to Fungal Mancer, and then being able to Stegodon, and then being able to keep this board lead pretty much ever.
And all Chloe can really do here is just play out a Tempo Megasaur or play a Knife Juggler Hero Power, and both those just sound awful right now.
You know, so much of it also is just the attacker's initiative. The player going first gets the first turn of attacks. That often dictates the pace, especially for Odd Paladin. That's like something the deck thrives on.
You know, they said that a lot about the Paladin Mirrors. Just, I mean, the Paladin Mirrors over, you know, just every single one. Even Paladin, Murloc Paladin, Odd Paladin. You're exactly right. When you get to go first, if you get that first play, you dictate where the minions go. Just something so powerful in Hearthstone as dictating where you put the trades.
This is those Megasaurs where you're like, oh, well, it's the best thing I can do, and wow.
Level up off the top.
I am not sure that Ike needed it, but he'll take it. That is... Ike, there's no doubt that he's drawn really well, but I'll tell you what, when Ike has been in tough positions, he's played really well also.
I mean, this all came off the back of life tapping to find a Shroom Brewer.
Chloe knows she can't get back into it, concedes. And Ike is going to win 3 games to 1, move on to the top 8. Toughly fought battle. I like a lot of the decisions Chloe made. Very aggressive play, and that is often the mark of strong play, is when you can get aggressive and really put your opponents to the test. Ike had to take backs against the wall risks, and this time they just paid off. And that's a tough one to beat. Someone builds their decks well, they play well, and they get pretty lucky. You're just not going to beat that guy.
I mean, like we were saying, it's tough to bet against Ike, and you feel for Chloe, you really do. She played very, very well, and you can certainly see why she made it here to the top 16 today. But maybe this is just Ike's tournament again.
It's Ike.
Yeah, we like Ike.
It's Ike.
There's not much else you can say besides
so
we
good.
like
How did he get so good?
I don't know.
I want to be that good.
He's only 19 years old.
It's crazy.
There's still more time to get even better.
That's like how all the world champions go. They're always like super young, and I don't get it. It was like Firebow, Skaka, Pavel. Tom broke train a little bit, but Tom's been around.
Just a little bit.
Tom is definitely the old stalwart.
He's
of the
put
scene.
in
He's
his
been around
time.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for bearing with us through 5 rounds of Swiss and the cut to top 16. I know you didn't get to see all of the action on stream today, but tomorrow will be different. We are going to be playing through all of our matches on stream tomorrow, all of the top 8, semifinals, and of course, the finals. We are going to be starting 1 hour earlier, so 10 a.m. Central Time will be the start of the broadcast. Before we head out, thank you so much to our sponsors, Corsair and Snipe, for making this tournament possible. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.